All right, so now we're going to talk about our general method of solving a quadratic equation and also polynomial equations generally by factoring. So the first step will always be to move all the terms to one side, probably the left-hand side, and that way the other side of the equation is 0. And that has to be the case for us to use the zero product rule. Second step, so you'll take all those terms that you got to the left-hand side, factor those out completely using all of our methods from earlier in the chapter. Okay, third, so then we're going to use the zero product rule and split each one of those factors off into its own equation where it's a linear equation equal to 0. Okay, finally, we solve each of the little equations from step 3, and those should be pretty easy at this point. And finally, we want to check by substituting back into the original equation. I won't always do that step here, but I recommend that you do it because there are a couple things that could go wrong in this process. So one thing is, okay, maybe you just messed up when you were solving one of these equations, or you messed up when you were moving all your terms to the left-hand side. But another mistake that can come in here is maybe you messed up when you factored. So checking in the original equation will catch all of those things. All right, so let's work a few examples, and then I'll do another video with some extra examples. All right, so let's solve each equation by factoring. Okay. First one, start with a nice quadratic equation. X squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. All right, so it's a quadratic equation. How do we want to factor that? So maybe take a second, pause the video, think how you would factor this left-hand side since it's already solved for 0 on the other side. All right, so maybe we think, okay, it's the nice simple case where the leading coefficient is 1, so we know it's going to be x and x plus something, x plus something equals 0. So then we think, okay, what are the things that multiply to negative 20 that add up to positive 1? Well, so it needs to be a positive and a negative factor from our sign rules, and then the positive factor has to be bigger. So I think negative 4 and 5. All right. So now we have the two factors equal to 0. Step 3, we split them into their own equations. So that means I get x minus 4 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. All right, and now those are pretty easy to solve. We just move the 4 over and the 5 over. So that gives us x equals 4 and x equals negative 5. Okay, so that's a nice basic solve the equation by factoring. All right. Let's just do a couple more here. So B, let's do how about 8x squared minus 10x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, so take a minute and pause and try to solve it on your own. All right, so now we have a kind of a harder case, but we know how to do this. Fortunately, already solved again for 0 on the other side. So let's take a look. We're gonna probably want to use the AC method. So AC, okay, that equals 8 times negative 3, so negative 24. All right, so now we need the factors of negative 24 that add up to negative 10. It's looking like, okay, we're gonna have one positive and one negative factor, right? And then the negative one needs to be bigger. So how could that work? What positive and negative factors of negative 24 would add up to negative 10? That would be positive 2, negative 12. Okay, so then we can take this and rewrite it as 8x squared plus 2x minus 12x minus 3 equals 0. Remember to keep bringing your equal sign and your 0 down for good formatting and clarity. All right, and then we want to do by grouping here. So we're going to group, say group these two, and then I'm going to group those two and make sure I get a plus in between them. And make sure I get my negative signs to go with everything. Okay, so what can we factor out of this term? I think I can get a 2x out of both. So let's take a 2x. All right, and then that's going to give 4x here plus 1. Okay, for this one, so I have negative 1 in both of them. Okay, so I'm probably going to factor out the negative. And then I want to match 4x plus 1. I could do that by getting a 3 out. So that's going to leave, so we'll take negative 3 out to take the negative sign. And then we leave 4x plus 1. All right, and then now we factor the 4x plus 1 out of both terms to get 4x plus 1 times 2x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, and now we've got it factored. These factors look a little weirder than before, but 0 product rule still applies. So we're going to set each one equal to 0. Our first equation is 4x plus 1 equals 0. Or 2x minus 3 equals 0. So those are our two equations. Now we got to do 2 steps to solve them. So subtract the 1. 4x equals negative 1, divide by 4. First solution is x equals negative 1/4. All right, here, so we'll add the 3. We have 2x equals 3, and then divide by 2 to get x equals a positive 3/2. All right. So that's how you use that on a quadratic equation of any type. And we have all of our methods available to factor those out. AC method, you could have done trial and error on this, but AC method was nice and fast. And then of course we had an easy case with the leading coefficient of 1. AC method would also have worked there. All right, so next video we will do several examples, and then we're going to extend this a little bit to a larger polynomial.